Welcome to the Put on Waivers Media Group, home of the Put on Raiders podcast and the Student Body Right podcast. This is your place for the best breakdowns and the best insight for those who fight on and bleed silver and black. Now, here are your hosts, Dwayne Douglas and Ryan Holmes.
And welcome everybody to the glorious episode of the Put on Raiders podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas, along with Ryan Holmes, and we are podcasting off the beautiful shores of the Pacific Ocean. A beautiful day out here in Southern California. PORSPR is my Twitter handle, and Ryan's is RHOLM22. We're just on Twitter. On IG, you can reach us at Put on Waivers _ podcast. That's Put on Waivers _ podcast. I want to thank everybody for listening to the show in Kansas City, Missouri, New York City, Memphis, Tennessee. We also got the Bahamas in here, and we got Honolulu. All listen to this Put on Raiders podcast here as well. So don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, click that like button, if you will. All those good things there. A couple of things I want to get off my chest before we go right to the Raiders here real quick, and we'll put like a 5-minute bow on the Super Bowl, because I'm sure you heard everybody's thing about the Super Bowl. My biggest thing is the war on Steve Wilks needs to stop. I'm not, if you go into that game against Patrick Mahomes, and yes, it took a muff punt for him to get to 19 points, but they gave him 19 points in 4 quarters of football. You cannot criticize this dude for a couple of blitzes in this game, right? I know, like Romo talked about he was upset at some of the blitzes, whatever. So he called timeouts and overruled his head coach. I mean his DC. But at the end of the day, man, you give 19 points to Patrick Mahomes. That you would think that if you're the play calling head coach, the son of a guru, like, you got to get 21 points, 24 points to win that game.
Yeah, I didn't think the game had anything to do with Steve Wilks. They gave up a touchdown in overtime, but his defense played well in regulation. Yeah. And you're playing arguably the greatest quarterback that's ever played in the NFL when it's all said and done. Right now it's Tom Brady, but he's getting close. And if you give players like that, the Kobe Bryants, the Michael Jordans, you give Patrick Mahomes, you give those guys a chance to win the game at the end. They win it more often than not.
Yeah.
And you can't muff punt. It wasn't a muff punt, hit the guy's foot.
I'm sorry,
that can't happen, especially if you can't have extra points blocked. You can't settle for field goals with championships on the line. So I haven't once thought Steve Wilks was to blame at all. It's surprising that you brought that. I haven't seen that, but I don't follow 49ers people, so I don't know.
Yeah. It's all over. It's all over with the 49ers. And they're even trying to get Bill Belichick, or put up the Bill Belichick to be a DC. I mean, Bill Belichick would never become the DC. But Bill Belichick, you call Bill Belichick, he would say, "Oh, let me replace Shanahan and have Shanahan call plays for me because of my offenses in the last couple of years." So that's absolutely ridiculous as far as that goes. Enough with the Super Bowl. The Chiefs win again. We know they're good, and we know that defensively they play very well. I thought McDuffie was outstanding in that game. They really did a good job in that ball game. I thought the one point in the game where I thought the Niners were going to win, I thought in that third quarter when they got that pick, I thought that was that was the opportunity to put the knife in the back. And when you don't do it to the Steph Currys, the great players in this league, it come back and bite you, like you said.
You got to score, and you got to keep scoring. You can't let Patrick Mahomes stay in games.
It's never enough.
Or even good quarterbacks, not just Patrick Mahomes. You can't do that with elite quarterbacks that are playing at the top of their game. And you couldn't do it with Tom Brady. You can't do it with Patrick Mahomes. You couldn't do it with Joe Montana. You can't do it with John Elway. Like, you just can't do it when you're facing those kind of players.
No question about it. The pivot interview, I am about 36 minutes in. Didn't get a chance to finish it before the show. What are your thoughts about AP? He kind of went. I mean, these dudes. They went Barbara Walters. They went in, boy. They went Larry King live. They went all that. They went really in on this interview, talking about his life, and he's really been very open about with RC and everybody like that. I thought it was. I mean, you kind of see the person. So now you in your head you want him to be even more successful than he did when you just knew him as just AP, the head coach of the Raiders, right? I mean, like he really kind of they kind of show a lot of shows. He always has a personality to show, but to show and nobody has to give you their life. Like they'll give you the football stuff, but nobody has to give you what happens in their life. And I think he was pretty open about his mother and everything like that happened in his life.
I haven't seen it. I've seen bits and pieces of it that I've come across on Twitter within the last hour or so. I'll probably watch it tomorrow in its entirety. But just kind of from the stuff that I caught, the couple of glimpses, like you can see how this team responded to him, and he took accountability. He came in day one. The first thing they did was put the pads on and run the football for an hour straight in the middle of the season to set the tone, and just letting these guys be themselves. Let Max Crosby be himself and do what he wants to do. And these guys, they reacted to it. Now they went 5-4, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. They didn't go 7-2 or 8-1. He's still got a long way to go, but we know we can motivate, and we know that he can get people to follow him. It's going to come down to game management, and then what he does on the offensive side of football is the CEO type overseeing it, and what he can get out of his coaching staff. And he's had some issues hiring some coaches, and now he's got a couple more on board. I thought it was interesting that the piece with the offensive coordinator, he said they interviewed 11 different people from all different styles, which we talked about the last show or two shows ago.
Yep.
And he didn't have a style that he was really looking for. He was just, looking for basically a coach that's willing to adapt, run the football, and do what he wants to do. He made a comment in there about like if we want to run the football for X number of plays in a row, then we need to do that. And that didn't happen previously. Like I don't know if that was like a backhanded slap at Bo Hardigree or something, but he made a comment about not running the football all the time when they wanted to. It'll be interesting to see in 2024 what he does when he has leads. Is he going to run the football and kind of go Gruden and let teams get back in the game if the defense slips up a little bit? Is he going to keep the foot on the pedal?
Yep.
And they're going to have an identity, though. This offense will finally have an identity, and it's going to be centered on running the football. And it's going to be Zamir White and potentially Josh Jacobs and whoever else they bring in. It's up to Luke Getsy and James Craig, the new offensive line coach, to get together, get a run scheme going. But they need to get the offensive lineman in to run that scheme to make it successful.
Yeah.
If they run kind of an adaptive Chicago Bears, San Francisco 49ers kind of run schemes, the 49ers are basically wide zone, outside zone. So you're looking for mobile, athletic linemen that can get out. The Raiders have a couple of those. They don't have a lot of them. So that if they do that, then that's what you need to look for in the offensive line via the draft or free agency. They ran a lot of zone in Chicago, but they did have some power mixed in. So I'm really curious because if they're going to run the 49ers kind of run game where it's a lot of wide zone, getting outside the numbers, that doesn't really fit Josh Jacobs. He's not a guy that's a speed guy that's going to get outside and make plays and break long runs when he gets out into space. And neither is Zamir White. So I'm really interested to see what kind of offensive lineman they go for, and then ultimately what this run game is going to look like come September.
I think the thing that you're going when you have you're up it's the top of the beginning of the fourth quarter. You're up by 2 scores, which is not a huge lead in football, and then you're getting the defense is they see you in heavy personnel and they're giving you a look where it's like, hey, we really shouldn't be running the ball here, coach. Like, we should got Devontae, we got Myers, we got a really good tight end. Hopefully in Myers, if he I'm sorry, Michael Mayer, if he can continue to develop, like those conversations are going to be like, hey, like I can get a first down here on a slant easily with Devontae. Like, is it that going to be like how is that back and forth going to be? Like, or is it going to be like, damn you, I don't care, I want to run the ball 10 straight times and show them how tough we are? Like, that's going to be like that's a big conversation between him and his offensive coordinator.
Yeah, and if that's what they're going to do, then they need 2 or 3 more pieces on that offensive line, completely different than what they have currently. If that's what they want to do, I don't see Andre James really fitting in long term.
No,
with this team, they're going to par him to center, and then you go get some guards that can do a little bit of both. That can get out and pull, but that are mainly going to be zone guys. But 2 zone schemes, and you're talking about establishing a will and running downhill and setting the tone and running multiple times. That's not they don't really go hand in hand. Like the zone's more to stretch the guys out, make them work sideline to sideline, and then get cutback runners.
Yes.
Wide zone, getting outside the tight end, outside the tackle. probably not a strength of either running back in the roster. So it's just interesting. And AP did make a comment. You can be physical throwing the football as well. But he did bring it all back together and was like, when you get into the second half, you have to run the football. And that's what we're going to do. So it made it sound like he did make a comment that the coordinators, both Patrick Graham and Luke Getsy, will be able to do whatever they want to do within the game plan that AP agrees with. So it kind of sounded like he took some shots at the offensive staff that was here prior, like they weren't doing what AP wanted them to do. It just came off a little bit weird, but this is all on AP going forward. This offense doesn't produce. AP hired this offensive coordinator. AP hired this offensive line coach. AP is going to have to hire the running back coach. So I've seen a lot of people on Twitter and X basically saying, I hope Tom Telesco and Mark Davis don't let AP down. That's a bunch of bull. This is on AP. He's the head coach. He makes these decisions. What happens on the field for 60 minutes on Sundays is on AP.
No question about
and
it.
He's got to be willing to wear that, good and bad.
Yeah. So I mean, and people have to understand that, because that's a big part of the whole head coaching situation here. So shout out to the Deshaun Foster on my other show. I said that I thought that is exactly what UCLA needed. They needed a guy who loved UCLA, didn't want to go anywhere, and wanted to actually try to build a program there. I'm not sure if he has the experience to be head coach, but we'll find out. You never understand. The kids on that team love him. And they couldn't stand. They won for Chip Kelly. They couldn't stand Chip Kelly. But at the end of the day, the Raiders need. Nobody's going to pass up, a head coaching job to be a running back coach. So the Raiders need to go back and fix that part as far as getting a new running back coach. And then James Craig is the new O-line coach. Has a long, been in the league for a while, college football and pros. Been with the Raiders before. Been with USC, the Broncos, the Chargers, LSU. Running game coordinator at LSU as well too. So we'll see what he brings to the table. But obviously that has to be a good marriage with Luke Getsy, who's going to be in control of that offensive scheme and that running game.
It's an interesting marriage because Luke Getsy's background is wide receivers, passing game coordinator, then OC, where Craig is assistant offensive line, run game coordinator. So I would expect the run game to have a lot of 49ers concepts in it, and hopefully Luke Getsy taps into some of the passing game stuff off of that those run looks, play action that the 49ers use. And then obviously Getsy likes to use the quarterback in the run game too. So you're going to see some quarterback run game here, depending on who the quarterback is. So it's going to be really interesting because it's really hard to be really good at both. There are teams that are good at running and passing, but I don't know if the Raiders are set up right now to be good at both. So it's going to come down to executing the plays, getting into down and distance, staying on schedule, and then you're probably looking at a rookie quarterback, so they're going to lean on the run game even more, especially with the defense. I don't see any situation where the Raiders go get a quarterback, whether they trade up or not, and then they put him in the position where he's Sam Howell and he has to throw the ball 700 times. That's not going to happen. They're going to be a run-first team and throw when they need to. So whoever it is has to be good third down. They have to stay on schedule. Hopefully they're not taking a ton of sacks, but more importantly, they have to protect the football. Sounds a lot like JJ McCarthy, but
it does sound like JJ McCarthy. How do you stay? I mean, they got weapons on the outside, so like that's a conversation.
How do you keep them happy? That's going to be the issue.
That's the first thing I thought about. Is like Devontae, and I know some Raider fans I've heard say, "Hey, well, if Devontae doesn't like it, he can leave." All stuff like that, all that talk like that, and I'm sitting there like, dude, like you need outside weapons in 2024 football. Like you cannot just be, I mean, if the Chiefs had better offensive weapons on the outside, they might not be in, overtime Super Bowls. They might win it, probably going away.
They will next year.
Yeah, they're gonna have weapons next year. That's why they're not coming back with those same weapons. Trust me. But for the Raiders weapons, I mean, I think Getsy has did a good job with Cole Kmet and targeting the tight end. But I know DJ Moore had a big year last year. But you guys sit there and think that if you have a rookie quarterback playing, that's probably not going to happen. So how do you stay with Devontae to tell him to say, hey, hang in there. Your numbers are, I mean, like he doesn't get 100 catches and they're struggling offensively, you're not winning games. That's going to be a harder conversation despite how much respect he has for AP.
I think that the saving grace for Adams here is they're going to move him inside. Like he played in the slot over 30% of the time the 2 years Luke Getsy was the passing game coordinator in Green Bay. He didn't, I think it was like 16% last year, 15 or 16%. So to get him the targets and get him the ball, they're going to have to move him inside where it's going to be tougher to double him. And then that's where Trey Tucker comes in. You're going to need the speed on the outside to pull those safeties so they can't come down and help out on Devontae. Jacoby Myers, he's got 2 years left on that deal. He's a good player. The prior regime put some funny numbers at the end of that with some avoidable years that'll hit the cap. Probably on this team for another year, but you'd like to see another speed type receiver outside here if you're going to move Devontae inside a ton and not just have the only threat down the field be Trey Tucker. So we'll see. I've been thinking about doing some mock drafts, and I'm thinking, like the Tony Franklins, a guy like that, someone that you can draft, third round, hopefully a guy that can get deep down the field and you can develop him to hopefully at some point take over.
The kid from Oregon? Yeah.
Whether you have Myers and Adams on this team down the line, but you also want, someone you can come in and help groom with the young quarterback, whoever it's going to be, along with Trey Tucker. But there's not going to be a ton of targets in this offense, and they're going to throw the ball to the running backs as well. So I'd expect the running backs to get a few more opportunities they did under the prior regime, and then obviously the growth of Michael Mayer at tight end. So it'll be interesting to see where this team goes. I think defensively they're set up pretty well right now. They need another corner. They could use a defensive tackle, but they have most of their starting lineup is here that they're going to run out next year. So maybe they attack that in free agency. They're in a position where they can give up assets and move up in the draft and try to get that quarterback because the defense played well. They were the number one defense under AP. Now, I don't expect them to do that over 17 weeks next year, but I expect this to be a top 12, top 10 defense next year if they can stay healthy, and hopefully Max Crosby is even better because he played 16 games injured last year. It's going to come down to the offense. So they have to hold the ball. They got to convert first downs. They can't let the defense stay on the field all day. And then they're going to have to run the ball successfully. They're going to have to not get penalties and get down in distance, because with a rookie quarterback, if you get into, 3rd and 12, somebody's 2nd and 15, 2nd and 20s, they're not going to be able to read a defense and throw the ball down the field and get first down. So you're probably looking at like screens, wide receiver screens, draws, something to try to get into third and manageable. So the offense isn't going to stay on the field like it would with a veteran quarterback. I've had some people ask me about Kirk Cousins. I'm not really in the pay a 35-year-old $50 million a year at this point in his career. I like Kirk Cousins as a quarterback, but I don't think it's a fit in Las Vegas.
Especially coming off of that injury. Like, I mean, and I just don't see that at all. I'd be careful like that. I think it's, people keep asking me, and it's funny. Like, I will go on mock drafts on YouTube, and as soon as they get to the Raiders and they don't pick a quarterback, I just turn it off because if you're not like, who's like, do they think that like we could draft the tackle from Oregon State or whoever, but like, who's going to run the football? I mean, who's going to throw the football? Like, we need to be able to throw the football, and be able to do it for, at least you got to get a future quarterback to get this team in the right direction so they can go out there, and if they want to spend money, they can spend money. They can build a roster around that quarterback. You got to do it. I mean, that's the only way to really do it as far as that goes. I don't know how else if it's quarterback or die. Like, there's no other way to. We'll probably say it 20 million times before April, but it's just they just got to be able to do it. There's no other way. No other for this team to function.
Yeah, AP made another comment on that podcast where when he talked about hiring the offense coordinator, he said you really get one chance to get it right. He said rarely do you get two, and I think it's the same thing applies with the quarterback. Having said that, history shows you can't get that guy in the second round. It's almost impossible. You can't get him in the third round. You can't get him in the fourth round. You can throw the anomalies at me. You can give me the Russell Wilson, the ones, the Dak Prescott, the 1 4th rounder that worked out, the Tom Brady's, but that's not the norm.
It's not.
And then you see on the other side, like, people are so scared to take a first round quarterback because the hit rate's about 50%. There's a 50% chance you're not going to hit it. But when you're drafting players, you draft what you can't sign. It's kind of the same. Like, You can't sign franchise quarterbacks. You know where you get them? You have to draft them, and you have to take the risk. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But if you don't do it, you can't get them. It's like starting pitching in baseball.
Yeah.
Teams are scared to draft it because they get hurt. But if you don't draft it, now what does it cost to sign a fifth starter now? $15 million? Like most teams can't go out and sign them on the free agent market. And most teams don't want to draft them because they're going to get hurt. You know where you end up?
Yeah.
You don't have any pitching. It's the same thing with quarterbacks. If you don't take them, you'll never have them because you can't acquire them.
Yeah, 100%. It just makes all the sense in the world for them to do it. I mean, I couldn't say it better myself. I mean, it really is what they have to do. And the way I look at it is, what are they like? If I go to the so I'm in love with this new site, NFL Draft Buzz. They do a good job of kind of breaking these quarterbacks down. But if I'm looking at the top 6 guys, Williams, May, Daniels, Penix, Nix, and McCarthy, in whatever order you want them. You're picking 13, and there's 6 quarterbacks there. Like, it's somebody gonna. I mean, hopefully somebody should be available. I don't think 6 quarterbacks are gonna go in the top 13 picks. Now, you may not want. I know two of them won't be there, but I'm just but two of them definitely won't be there. It'd be interesting to see after the. I'm interested to see after the combine, the Drake and the Drake and Daniels dynamic. Does somebody pick Drake over? Because it's been pretty chalk as far as the evaluators go, by Williams being Williams and May being 1 and 2, and then Daniels being that third quarterback. Does he slip up? Does he slip and kind of go to the second pick? Possibly. I know some people like Daniels a lot too as well, and we'll talk about the quarterbacks as we get closer to the draft. But I mean, there's spots there. I mean, and the problem is everybody and their grandmother needs one right now. They know what's coming next year, which ain't much as far as quarterbacks go. So you wait until next year, it's not going to be the Quinn Hewer is not going to save you as far as that goes. So the Raiders just have to do what they got to do. They sell the farm, they sell the farm. The farm has not been good for like 20 years. So it's time to do what you got to do to get a quarterback anyway.
If you hit on it, no one will care what draft picks you gave up. And that's kind of the way you have to look at it.
They care in Houston right now? I don't think they care in Houston right now. They don't care, right? They hit on the quarterback. They don't care about anything they get.
They care in Carolina, but they might not in 2 years because Bryce Young had nothing around him.
Exactly.
You have to still put pieces around the quarterback, and sometimes it takes time. It's not you can't grade this out in 1 year. And if you look at the history of the playoffs and the teams that go deep, almost all of them have first-round quarterbacks. Yes. You'll find some exceptions. Brock Purdy's an exception, but 7 of the 8 quarterbacks that were in the second round of the playoffs were first-round picks. The only one that wasn't was Brock Purdy, and he had arguably the best roster in the NFL, absent the quarterback, were the San Francisco 49ers, and they kind of helped him get there. And Brock Purdy did okay. I'm not ready to put him in the elite category. I don't think he belongs there. That's just my personal opinion. But if you don't draft the quarterback in the first round, where are you going to find him? You just can't. Now you can go out and sign. Maybe you go trade for Sam Howell or trade for Justin Fields, even though that's probably not going to happen. But I think what's going to happen by the time you get to the draft is we have to get through free agency. All these teams have these holes now, but someone's going to get Justin Fields. If it's the Falcons, they're out of the quarterback market. Someone's going to get Sam Howell. Does he end up in New England? Does he end up somewhere that needs a quarterback?
Yeah.
That would take them out of it. So 3 or 4 of these teams that need quarterbacks right now are going to go get someone. Russell Wilson's another one, and that's going to take them out of the market. So it's going to shrink down. And it's funny when I read all of these mock drafts. It's like, oh, the Raiders can't give this up. They can't move from 13. And then the next mock draft is like, the Broncos are going to move from 12 to 2 and give up all these picks. Well, why can the Broncos do it, but the Raiders can't in these mock drafts? Like, people are so scared for the Raiders to move up. And if the Raiders don't want to move up, if they're fine taking the 4th or 5th quarterback and they want to sit at 13 and maybe they move up to 8 or 9, or maybe the draft breaks. But what's going to happen is we're going to know, because as soon as free agency starts, if they don't go out and get a veteran quarterback, all of their eggs are in the draft. And at that point, all the teams are going to know what they need to do. So they're going to have to make a move. I prefer it's going to be like last year. Someone that's going to move up into the top 3 is going to do it after the combine. They're going to do it before free agency starts, because the price is only going to go up the longer you wait.
No question about it. I just, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity of a lifetime for them to improve themselves. They got to do it quickly. Otherwise, it's going to be, they can forget about it as far as competing in a division where you have the best player maybe in the world, as far as quarterback play, who all-time great, and Patrick Mahomes. I did want to shout out a Raider fan real quick. It's NYC Raider 88 inside is 88. His Twitter handle is NYC underscore Raider 88. He's the one who puts out all these videos. He put a bunch of Terry McDaniel videos out. He put a bunch of old school Napoleon Kaufman. I love Napoleon Kaufman running the football. So some Tyrone Wheatley stuff as well too. So shout he's also a good follow as well. Too as far as that goes. Let's see here. Anything about? I mean, like not a bit. I mean, people are asking like about what does quality control do, because I think AP's his son is going to be the quality control coach. And I mean, and much research as I've done, it says basically whatever the coach doesn't want to do. So he's it's like an intern entry level position. McVay's done it. A lot of these guys have done it throughout the league. So that I would just say that's something that I would say. I mean, like, you know, it doesn't to me. It is what it is. If he hires his son, nobody's gonna care if they win. Like nobody's gonna care. Like nobody's gonna care if they get a quarterback and they win. It's not gonna matter.
They quality control their entry level positions. A lot of times it could be charting formations, personnel usages, doing a scouting on the next opponent. Again, look at what are they doing on third down. Sometimes it's video work, like doing video cut-ups for the coaching staff. Basically just doing stuff to help the coaches and get stuff off of their plate.
Yeah.
And delegate. So, you know, an offensive coordinator has a ton of stuff to do. He can hand some stuff off to a quality control coach to look at. Or maybe, you know, something pops up in his head, like, you know, how much are we using this personnel on third and medium? And then go ask the quality control coach to look those numbers up and get it back to you. So it's not hands-on coaching. They're not calling plays. They're not really involved in the game plan, but they're doing a bunch of stuff behind the scenes to assist and facilitate and help the coaching staff.
Yeah. So as far as so he gets his foot in the door as far as that goes. What is Tom Brady is? I guess they're going to. He's gonna have some ownership of the a slight ownership of the Raiders. So that's something to look at as well in the future. So we'll see what happens as far as that goes. I mean, that could be, you know, who knows if that's like the next step if something ever happened to Mark, whatever, who knows as far as that goes. I know it's a small ownership part of it, but you know, who knows what will happen with the Raiders if that does take place, because it doesn't seem to be an heir there as well. As far as the rest of the Raiders news goes. I would say the CBS, I don't know if you saw that. Did you see the CBS short on Al Davis?
Yeah.
I thought it was really good.
I thought it was going to be a movie.
I was like, I thought it was the guy who played the Lego Batman. I thought he was the guy playing Al Davis, but I thought that was done very well. It was way better than what ESPN did.
Will Arnett, is that?
Yeah, that's what I thought. I don't think it was Will Arnett, but I thought initially it was Will Arnett. I thought the conversation with him and Madden looked like very, very realistic. Like, you know, him just cutting off Madden every time and try to speak. The Amy Trask scene, like the scene with him giving you know, I mean, it wasn't a speaking scene for Art Shell, but it was like that whole history of it. I thought it was outstandingly. I thought it was greatly done. I thought it was incredible. I thought it was a really good like way, and then just the little tidbits of Vegas every 5 seconds. I thought it was cool.
Yeah, I don't know how much truth there was that because I don't remember. I wasn't obviously around in the 70s.
No,
I was born in 1978, but him hinting that he wanted to move to Vegas before they went to LA, I've never heard that. I don't know if that's true or that they just put that in as part of it. Thought it was interesting after the Steelers gave him the immaculate reception when he got on the bus. I don't know if there's truth to that, but he basically told the team what he said is they're just going to have to go out there and win it, but he's not going to do him any favors. So I literally watched that. And I'm like, oh, this is 6 minutes long. Is this going to be a movie? Is this something that's going to be available on streaming? And then it just ended. I was like, wait, is that it? Like, that's all? But it was pretty good.
Yeah, I thought it was a trailer at first, but they did a good job with that. The focus for Tom Telesco right now and AP, I think right now it looks like it's going to be free agency and trying to get, you know, I mean, obviously I felt the staff first, but like the free agency part of it, what are the things that you're looking forward to see? What things are you looking forward to seeing them do in the next month or so as the combine looms?
I think step one is they need to figure out what they're going to do with the quarterback position. Whether that's, are they going to do something free agency? Do they have a trade up their sleeves? Are they looking to move up in the draft? Which I think by all accounts sounds like they are. Now, if they're willing to move up in the draft, then obviously they need to start filling holes in free agency. So, and I know a lot of fans get carried away this time of year. They see the free agent list and like, oh, we're going to get this superstar and this superstar. Well, all these guys are going to get franchise tag for the most part. So the Christian Wilkins is going to get franchise tag. I don't know if the Seahawks are just going to let Leonard Williams walk out the door if they just gave up a second round pick for him for half a season. One of the two guys in Kansas City, whether it's Snead or Jones, is going to get franchise tags. I would think that they would try to work out a deal with one of them and then turn around and franchise the other, similar to how the Giants did Barkley and Jones last year. I don't know if they're going to get to the market, but the Raiders are going to have to figure out how to fill. They need a corner, they need a defensive tackle, and then they have to figure out the offensive line, and then that would set them up to do whatever they wanted to do in the draft and go get a quarterback at the top, and then pick some guys later on if that's the third, fourth, fifth round. I would assume if they move up, they're going to lose their first and second pick this year, and at least first and second next year. Maybe it's 3 1s and a 2, but if the Raiders go out, and this is why everyone thinks that if they go out and make these trades, they're going to be the Panthers, and they're going to be terrible. The quarterback's not going to work, and then we're giving up top 5 picks.
Yep.
You can't think that way in the front office of the National Football League. They're sitting in the offices in Las Vegas thinking if we make a move for a quarterback, that can get us to, hopefully over the hump to 10, 11 wins. And we're not trading a top 5 pick. In their minds, we're trading a 20th pick or a 22nd pick or a 25th pick. It's a little different. So I think that they're going to do everything they can to move up. It's probably going to be hard for Gillette to pull that trigger, but he might need to. The way that it's been reported that Mark Davis interviewed these candidates, obviously he's probably getting a lot of push from Antonio Pierce to go after his guy, Jaden Daniels. I've seen a lot more Jaden Daniels to the Commanders. If Caleb goes 1, Daniels would go 2 from what just the smoke out there because of Cliff Kingsbury in that system, wanting a guy with the mobility. I don't think a lot of Raider fans have watched Drake May. I kind of put out there on X the other day that, a lot of people want to pay attention to the connections between Daniels and AP. Well, Telesco drafted Herbert, and Drake May, that most comparisons are Herbert when you start looking at the size, the speed, the arm strength, the ability to drive the ball down the field outside the numbers. And I had people, when I said that Herbert and May have similar traits, I had people coming to me like, what traits? Like, have you never watched Drake May?
Yes.
He physically looks just like Justin Herbert. He can run, he can throw, he's got a cannon for an arm.
Yeah.
Like, why do I need to explain this? So it's pretty interesting. And that's going to be an interesting conversation, because what if Telesco wants May and AP wants Daniels? So if we don't know if that's going to come out, but if that happens and then they do let's say they take May, then our Raider fans, if it doesn't work out, they're going to blame Telesco because he didn't get AP his guy. And if it's Daniels and he doesn't work out, are they going to do the same thing and blame AP because he's the one that wanted Daniels? So it's going to be really interesting. And these fractions and the way that the Raider Nation just wants to argue about everything, it's so tiring. Like, I stopped looking at a lot of stuff on Twitter and X because I just can't deal with the constant bickering. Can we just all get along and just hope they get a quarterback, whether it's May or Daniels or McCarthy? Who cares? Just go get the one you believe in and let's roll.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. We all I am just, as soon as they draft a quarterback, I'm jumping in the pool with that quarterback. Like, I mean, just I'm all they to me, they would have accomplished getting into,
as long as it's in the first round.
Yeah, first round.
I'm not jumping in the fourth round if they take Michael Pratt. Like, on my other show, people were definitely disappointed in what we had to say about Joe Milton. I'm like, Joe Milton is not. No. We're not going. You don't go back. Like, we're not going 5th round, 4th round for a quarterback. You have to go in the first round to get a quarterback and stop playing games. And I think that hopefully, I mean, in a perfect world, it would be like great. It would be wonderful if they could stay at 13 and get a quarterback. That's probably not going to be likely. And as far as, I mean, I think New England is a tipping point in this draft. Like, do the Patriots say, hey, we like some of the other quarterbacks just as well. Why don't we just get a haul at 3 and then
and then go to go wherever and just get get a Penix or get a Knicks or get somebody like that to play as well. So we'll see. But I mean, as far as Drake May goes, I just started looking. I mean, I've been looking at Drake May all season because I knew we were going to get to this point. I think the guy he could play. So I mean,
very talented.
Yeah, Nation. I'm just saying, like the top three guys are the top three for a reason. Like they are really Williams, Drake, and Daniels are just outstanding prospects. They really are. So you may have your preferences here and there, but like you won't be. I mean, you won't be upset. I don't think you'll be upset if you get Drake May. I'm sorry. I just don't. I mean, and like AP can hang out with Jane Daniels and whoever he wants, but I mean, at the end of the day, like they got to actually be available, and I don't know if they're going to be available, especially after the combine, as far as that goes.
And let's just say that none of them are perfect prospects.
Nobody.
So all of them have things that you can nitpick, but
100%.
It's about development. And to me, this is when age comes into it, because I see a lot of people just want to rank them based on how they did this year in their college season. There's a big difference between a 21-year-old and a 24-year-old. You're talking about 3 years of development, where you have to project where Caleb Williams, where Drake May would be if they were 24, and where are they going to be? There's more upside. When you start talking about a 23, 24-year-old, there's not a lot of room for upside. They're pretty much they are what they are.
They're going to be who they be.
They're not going to get a ton better. They should be better. They're 3 years older than these other guys. So you have to look at physical traits. What do they bring to the table? JJ McCarthy's 20 years old right now. I know he gets a lot of flack, but if you just look at traits, he can run. He's got a big arm. He was good on third down. He makes good decisions for the most part. He wasn't asked to do a lot because he didn't need to do a lot. Michigan was a loaded team, and they could run the football. They played in a conference where you didn't have to score a ton of points.
It's 100%.
You can't hold that against J.J. McCarthy. If you put J.J. McCarthy in an air raid system or put him in the Pac-12, he'd be putting up all the numbers all these other guys are putting up.
Yeah.
So you got to stop looking at college stats and saying, well, he's not good because he didn't do what this other guy did. You have to look at the situation and the environment that they're within.
Yeah.
And it comes back to traits and what kind of skills and physical tools do they have. J.J. McCarthy has those. To me, with J.J. McCarthy, it's going to come down to the measurements in Indy. I want to know how tall he is, and I want to know how much he weighs, because I don't know if he's 6'3". I hope he is. And I don't think he weighs much more than 200 pounds. Now you start talking about the frame. Same questions I have with Jaden Daniels. Like, what is Jaden Daniels going to weigh? We all know he's 6'3", 6'4", but he might be 200 pounds.
Yeah.
Drake May is 230 pounds. Drake May is built like an NFL quarterback. I'm not saying take Drake May over Jaden Daniels. I would take either one of them and be happy with it.
Yeah.
But if Getsy's going to run the quarterback, you might want to lean to the guy that weighs 30 pounds more if you're going to ask them to be part of your running game versus a quarterback that weighs 200 pounds.
And the thing with JJ McCarthy too is, like, at that time, it's Jim Harbaugh's job to just win games. He's not worried about getting him numbers to do whatever. Like, he looked at the landscape of the Big Ten, and all I got to do, I mean, they had that game, I think it was against Penn State or whoever, where they ran the ball like 15 straight times, in a game just to close it out because they could. And they had an offensive line and they had a running back stable that they actually could do that. So, like, hand the ball off and just run the football. We actually have a coach right now who would love to do that.
AP does that. That's what he wants to do.
He wants to do that. He wants to run the ball 7 straight times, 10 straight times. I mean, that's what he wants to do. So I think it'd be interesting to see if it's successful, that when everybody is zigging, can the Raiders zag and play like a 2-back system, or play like, and just run the football and do all these things. I'm interested to see as far as that goes. You have anything else?
I would add, when you're looking at these quarterbacks, you got to look at the support system they have too. Like, Michigan won the national title, but it was because of their offensive line, their run game, and their defense. They didn't have elite skill position players. They had a younger tight end in Lovelady. They had Roman Wilson, who's a little shifty guy, but they didn't have a Marvin Harrison, a Roma Dunze, a McMillan, a Jalen Polk like they had, like you had in Washington. Michael Penix had NFL dudes all over the field for skill position players. They didn't have that in Michigan. I would argue that Caleb Williams didn't have that at USC. I'm not the biggest Brendan Rice guy. I think he's stiff. I don't think he runs great routes. I think it's going to be really hard for him to create separation, to get in and out of breaks at his size. I'm not a huge Taj Washington guy. They didn't really use the running backs like they should have. Like, Caleb Williams did a lot with not a lot of real NFL talent around him. JJ McCarthy was kind of in a similar spot. He didn't have skill position players. They're going to be first and second round picks. Jaden Daniels had Brian Thomas, who might be a first rounder, and Malik Neighbors, who's going to go in the top 10. He had legit NFL skill players. So you have to start looking at who was around them and not just go, well, he only threw for X number of yards, so he sucked. Like, that's not how you evaluate that.
Yes, no question about it. Before you head out, you want to do a quick mock? Three rounds? You got time.
We can. I've been trying to hold off until after the combine.
Sure, combine. That's a good quick one.
Can I just trade all the picks right now and go into the top 3 and just do one?
I gotta see that. No. So we got let's see here. I'm gonna what we got? Quarterback's gone. I don't know how Caleb Williams went to Arizona, which is hilarious, but okay, we'll see. Let's see. We're getting down there. 13. All right. So let's minimize that. You got Nixon McCarthy available. And Rattler.
13?
13.
I wouldn't take Rattler in the second round, let alone 13. I'm not a huge Rattler guy. He's getting a lot of love, but he turns the ball over a ton. He's barely 6 foot tall.
If Furman
he's also 24 years old when the season
if Furman's on the schedule, he'll have a great game though. McCarthy or Nix?
Out of those two, I would lean McCarthy. I prefer McCarthy over Nix.
So we got that.
I just think it's better arm talent. He can push the ball down the field better. Yes. He's probably a little bit quicker.
So he's
not as big as Nix.
Exactly. He's not. He's not stocky. Like when I stood next to Caleb Williams, Caleb Williams is built like he's like 10. He's like, I mean, here it says he's like 15 pounds less than Drake May, which I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that's possible or not, but I mean, he's built like Russell Wilson. He's very thick as far as that goes. I'm gonna go second round real quick. This is the unofficial one, so don't worry about it, folks.
It's not what I would do. This is what I would do based on the players that are available.
Based on available. But this simulator is actually
assuming the Raiders don't address the quarterback position prior to the draft.
Yes.
This is with the roster they have right now. You have to address the quarterback position.
Yes. What position group are you looking for now? The quarterback at 13, and you didn't have to pick anybody, or trade any picks.
I would look at corner, defensive tackle, and offensive tackle.
All right. So available prospects. Let's go minimize, and we want to go offensive tackle, offensive line. I got Guyton from Oklahoma, and Patrick Paul from Houston. And you said in D line
corners are available.
Corners, I got Tiandre Sweat available. And I got for defensive tackle. I got Kalen King is the corner available from Penn State. And I also got DJ James from Auburn.
I would lean Guyton, especially knowing that the Raiders are probably going to be a zone running offensive team. Just the athletic ability, the size, and sure up that right tackle spot. I would go Tyler Guyton. I don't think he's going to be there in the second round, but I would take him at this spot. If it was either Sweat, those two corners, or Guyton, I would take Guyton.
Okay. And then I'm only doing 3, so it's last one. Then we'll get out of here.
Yeah.
See here. Maybe the Raiders. I don't. It is funny though on this one how they ended up with Arizona ended up with Caleb Williams. That's interesting. That's interesting. That's like I guess they do this. They must do these things in draft rooms just over and over and over again to prepare themselves for any situation.
Well, they don't use online simulators, but
yeah, you know what I'm saying. Yeah. You know what I'm saying when I say that.
Yeah, no, they do that.
Yeah,
that's a fact.
Yeah, you have to because, like, it's just like, let's see here, the last one.
And typically, the way they'll set up their board is if the Raiders pick 13, they're going to put 13 guys up. So they're going to go, we're going to get one of these 13. The boards aren't lined up 1 to 250 or anything like that. So it's split up, and at one point they'll do it demographically by position once you get deeper into the draft. And then you're just looking, okay, we need to fill this hole, we need to fill that hole.
All right, so Roman Wilson just went ahead. And Brendan Rice went to the Falcons. What is your preference here now for this position for the next position group you want for the Raiders? We got offensive line, we got
I,
quarterback.
I would go back to the defensive side, defensive tackle, linebacker, corner.
This thing is acting weird. Huh. Hold on real quick. All right. Okay, start draft. Froze up on me, so we'll just take those two and move on.
Those two work.
Those two work. So it just similar to froze on me. So as far as
Like
that goes.
Junior, if Junior Colson from Michigan is there, like he's a nice linebacker prospect that could come in. Don't need a ton from him year one, but it's a good option to have. Spillane's got 1 year left on his deal. Diablo, we don't know if they're going to sign him
Yeah.
Once he hits free agency. So you need to add a little bit depth in that linebacker room, and he would be a good special teams player who could come in and play. He might be better than Diablo, we don't know, but
Yeah.
I could see wide receiver as well. To add some speed. If they want to be vertical, they need to add speed. They don't have speed in the wide receiver room outside of Tucker.
Yeah, and I've been saying that too. I'm talking to people on the Raider fans on Raider Nation. I'm like, yo, listen, we are a Tucker injury away from being one of the slowest wide receiving cores in football. So they definitely need a guy, maybe the kid from a kid from Oregon, or maybe somebody's a speedster of some sort to go along with Trey Tucker in this offense. No question about it. All right.
Well, if you're on Twitter and Instagram, Brandon Ayuk's brother keeps saying he's going to Vegas. So maybe they have Brandon Ayuk somehow. I don't see how they can do that because they'd have to trade for him because he's still under the 49ers still have him for another year under contract.
Money wise, I mean, he wasn't. He is a really good receiver, and I think
a good receiver.
He's a good receiver. I'm not sure, he's going to get paid though too. So we got to think about the payment part of it too. He's going to want to get paid, and I'm not sure. Can we allocate even more money to the offense that the Raiders have already? I mean,
I don't care about the money. I'm not giving up the picks for him. I want to go get the quarterback.
Yeah, it's kind of
then sign him next year after next season as a free agent when you decide what you want to do with Devontae when his cap number balloons.
No question. All right, Ray Nation. See you next time. Take care, Ryan.
Take care.